Steel Curtain Network.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, one of the three hosts of the Steelers Preview Podcast. It is Ravens week. It's hard to believe there's kind of like this cloud over the Steelers fan base with after a dud last week. It is still Ravens week. That's what we're talking about, the Steelers Preview. Joining me as always, Dave Schofield. What is up, Dave? How's it going?
Oh, yeah, I guess there is a game this week after all. Yeah.
The season's not over.
No, it's not.
Yeah, who would have known? Bryan Davis, what's up, Bryan?
Hey, I am here, and it is not all Canada all the time. It's nice to talk Ravens week.
Yeah, like I definitely feel like people are not into this Ravens week as much. I get it. After last week and the injuries and the bye coming up, I think a lot of people are just like, this is insane. But we are going to get you preview ready. We're doing our job. We're going to do our job. We're going to get you ready for this upcoming Week 5 game at Acrisure Stadium, 1 o'clock Pittsburgh time. It's going to be a fun one. I have an interesting feeling about this one. We'll get to that in the second half when we get to predictions.
Of course you do, Jeff.
I do, indeed. Sometimes with the Ravens, I've been right way more than I've been wrong. Okay, so let's talk about news. That's what we have to discuss first and foremost. Matt Canada still remains with the Steelers, but he did make headlines today as he made a lot of comments about the comments he made to CBS Sports. One, Spiro, I think it's Ditas or Dennis, I don't know if I said his name correctly. I know it's Spiro.
Yeah.
But it was all about his comment that basically said, this offense is not built to come from behind. Now, everyone's got their own reaction to the comment and to his comments about the comment. Dave, did you have any reaction?
Yeah, I think Matt Canada fell victim to the transitive property. All right, so you're probably like, oh, do we have to really hear this from Dave? Yeah, you're going to have to hear it.
Is this a grammar lesson?
No, this is a math lesson.
Oh,
the transitive property. If A equals
God.
B and B equals C, then A equals C. Well, the other part of that is that if A equals B and negative B equals C, then negative A equals C. It's the same kind of thing. Here is, I bet you, I don't think this reporter made up this completely out of the blue. But tell me if this sounds like something you would think Matt Canada would say. Do you think Matt Canada would say something like, well, this offense is really built on being able to run the ball and then use play action? Does that sound like something he would say? I think it's true. So to me, it sounds like something he would say. But then when they asked the question of, well, why didn't you do that more against the 49ers? He said, well, we were down by a lot. There was 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We were down 3 scores, just like he explained in the press conference today, where there was a point in the game when they were down by a lot that you couldn't just simply do that. You needed to push the ball and everything else. Well, that's your infamous if you're built on doing that, and if being behind means you can't do that, then the conclusion to be drawn is that your offense can't come from behind. Is really that's what I think probably happened. None of the stuff that Canada probably said, but man, you got to be smarter than that if those are the kind of things you're going to say. But that's why I say I think Matt Canada fell victim to the transitive property. I don't think that the conclusion that would have been drawn from that is necessarily wrong, but that's just kind of how it is.
I can only speak first personally. I really couldn't give a crap what he says. I mean, people there were some people that had some really strong opinions about this. I was like, I really don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. I didn't care when people were like, oh my gosh, Matt Canada has a burner on Twitter or X, whatever. Again, I really don't care. I don't give a crap if Matt Canada, even though it was debunked by Chris Carter, my buddy CC, but spent like 8 minutes of his life doing that. Gosh, Chris, stop. Like, don't feed the beast, man. Still, I don't know. Bryan, what about you? What's your take on all this Canada crap?
When you've got a dead man walking, you've got a dead man talking. And when a dead man's talking, he tells the tales that just keep on getting more and more and more ridiculous. And that's exactly, nothing that this man is going to say is going to appease anybody. So right now he's in whatever I can say to cover my butt at this point, and it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, when I say dead man walking, yes, Matt Canada is going to be gone from this team, but it's not going to be as soon as everybody wants it to be. It seems I will say this, the odds are very low that he is in here on this team in the second or third week of January when that contract runs out. I would be absolutely I expect to see that press release saying that his contract is not going to be renewed somewhere in January, maybe somewhere in February, but that's probably when it's going to happen. Now, when he's saying this, and I heard this entire stuff on during that Texans broadcast, and when you say, hey, we're not built to be from behind, well, you're not built to be ahead either, because you have done nothing to be ahead very much in this entire season. So I am really I'm really getting tired of even listening to him at this point. So right now he is just talking gibberish to me.
Yeah, bro. I think Brian's quoting my stat geek from this morning, where I laid out the numbers that you're exactly right, Brian. That if you can't come from behind, then you got to get ahead, and the offense is not built to actually do anything to start, or not that it's not built that way. It just hasn't produced early on in games.
Right. All right, enough Canada talk. Let's talk about the stuff that actually matters as it pertains to. And yes, I know that the offensive coordinator does matter, but let's talk about the stuff about this game on Sunday. And there's no larger talking point with the Steelers than the injury report, because one, Kenny Pickett, he's banged up. So Dave, do you have that handy?
Oh yes, I do, Jeff.
All right, go ahead.
All right, and we don't have any cut and paste issues so far that I've found yet this
Not
week.
yet.
Who knows? Maybe
will.
it'll jump back out. But I'll be honest with you. I think we're looking at probably more injury statuses this week than we've seen, because there were 5 players that did not practice today, with a new one coming in. And one of the ones that was limited, DeMarvin Leal, he was limited today, Thursday, with his concussion after not practicing yesterday. I still don't know if that's going to be enough to get him through the protocol in order to play. So tomorrow is going to be huge for that one. He's going to probably have to be, if he's full, there's a chance he could be cleared. If he's limited, he would then have to clear on Saturday. And it's been very rare that players that have gone into the protocol have played the next week. So we'll see how that one goes. But the players that didn't practice were obviously Dan Moore Jr., who's already been ruled out. Pat Freiermuth didn't practice again, who's already said doubtful he'll play. So I don't know why he's not playing. Okay. James Daniels and Presley Harvin, who both missed the last game, neither of them have practiced either day this week. So I don't think it's looking good for either of them. Then the other player that didn't practice, crept up on the list today, was Alex Highsmith, pops up there with a groin injury, didn't practice. So as great as it was that Kenny Pickett was back to full, Cole Holcomb was back to full, Chuks Okorafor is back to full, that's not only was it not good, you had someone else pop in. Kenny Pickett's like the only redeeming thing right now when it comes to the injury report.
Right. I'm hoping Alex Highsmith is like Darnell Washington last week, who popped up with a knee and didn't even have a designation. They just had to kind of state it. But anyways, Brian, what were your thoughts on the Steelers injury report? We've only seen Wednesday and Thursday, but so far, what do you think?
First of all, Dave, shame on you. It's groin injury.
Oh, that's right. Whenever you say it, that's what I think. But when I'm saying it myself, I just roll with it.
So, yeah, this is a very disconcerting injury report. Probably one of the ones that when you see Highsmith pop up on there, and you know that there is some depth behind him for the first time ever, with Marcus Golden, who has a couple sacks, with the excitement that is Nick Herbig as well. But you always want to be at full strength when your biggest strength on a defense that has played to the point where you're after the offense, you're if the offense didn't have that many problems, you'd be not singing the praises of the defense either. It seems like it's a two-man show with TJ Watt right now and Alex Highsmith. So if one half of that dynamic duo is gone, that's, like I said, disconcerting. DeMarvin Leal is a guy to me that makes strides every single snap. He seems like he is going to be the guy in year 3 or 4 where he looks like he's going to be a Highsmith at the point where he's going to get a kind of deal because he's going to prove more and more how invaluable he is. So I really want to see Leal in there. I'm not saying I almost called him Jordan Berry. Please excuse me. Another Australian, Bryan. It's not like he was horrendous, but we got spoiled the last couple of weeks with a lot of these inside the 20s, inside the 10s, kicks from Presley Harvin. And Presley is that one guy that his placement is absolutely phenomenal. He's becoming the punter that the Pittsburgh Steelers have craved. He is better more often than he is bad. So you need to get him back in there. And if you have all these players that are not available, Pat Freiermuth, that's he's a star in the making as well. They need to Kenny Pickett really wants to get the ball to him. They're trying to do that more and more. But with the fact that he is out, who steps up? We talked about how deep that tight end position is. Now we need to see them prove it. This is where you've got to see Darnell Washington show who he is. You've got to see Connor Hayward not be a surprise, not be the guy that's like, oh yeah, and there's Connor Hayward. That guy's good. But now if he's thrust in the limelight, he's got to show that he can be there 24/8.
Okay. Dave, what about Baltimore? I haven't even checked their injury report yet today.
I'll get to them. Can I just say one thing real quick about how the injury report may have clarified something? It dawned on me while Bryan was talking, and that was I was curious why the Steelers released Dez Fitzpatrick, elevated Rodney Williams to the 53, and then signed Fitzpatrick back to the practice squad. Like, couldn't you have just kept Fitzpatrick where he was and just elevated Rodney Williams on game day as another tight end? Now that we see the injury report for 2 days, I think because if Presley Harvin can't go, you've got to elevate a punter. If now it's looking like James Daniels isn't going to go, you're going to have to bring up another offensive lineman from the practice squad to get your 8. So maybe the Steelers had anticipated that early in the week, and that's why they went ahead and switched out the wide receiver for the tight end. Because right now you're looking at there's a potential that other than Mason Rudolph as the third quarterback, you could have the whole rest of the inactive list be players that are out injured. And I still wouldn't be shocked if Dan Moore ends up on IR in a move on Saturday.
Yeah, it could happen. We'll have to see what's going on with the bye week next week. It's interesting how they're going to play their hand in week 5 in terms of someone like, the groin injury that kept James Daniels out. Maybe he could have gone if it was, say, a playoff game, or they need to get into the postseason. It's a must win. But they might also be taking it easy, knowing that next week's off, get him fully healthy, and then get him ready to go.
Yeah.
All
right. I can get the ball over now. Sorry.
Let's do it.
You ready? Okay. First of all, a couple players that were full, wide receiver Rashad Bateman, who missed last week. He's been full for 2 days. Cornerback Jalen Armour Davis. He was limited Wednesday, but full Thursday, so he's trending in the right direction. You've got Odell Beckham Jr. limited both days. Justice Hill limited both days. Marlon Humphrey limited both days. These are players that had been out. Then you had, let's see, you had a running back. Wait a second, I'm getting confused here. No, he was there Wednesday, but then he didn't show up on it Thursday. So forget that one. You've got outside linebacker. I'm not going to say his name right. Is it Odafe Owe? Did I say that maybe? He did not practice either day with an ankle. Ronnie Staley was full both days with a knee. So it looks like he's going to possibly be coming back. Marcus Peters was full both days. And then it was safety Darrell Woodley. He did not practice either day. So they're getting some of their players back.
Brian, you look confused. What's going on?
I thought Marcus Peters was on the Raiders. Is this
I say Marcus Peters? I'm so sorry. It's here. Marcus Williams. Sorry.
Okay.
Marcus Williams.
He came from the Saints.
Marcus.
He's a safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I just got
That's okay.
There, but I didn't
Brian, what are your thoughts on that Ravens list?
It seems like limiteds become fulls pretty soon, and not the kind of fulls that you expect with the Baltimore Ravens, but FULL. So I'm just going to say that this kind of bodes well for Baltimore. It looks like they're getting a lot of people back.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, someone like Justice Hill, Odell Beckham Jr. been limited both days. That can go either way. Yeah, it depends on the injury. It depends on what they do on Fridays. That's going to be very telling. Sadly, I'm left thinking more that this is it's not about the team in the purple and black. It's about the team in the black and the gold at home and how they're going to actually play. But before we go into the keys to victory, so to speak, Dave, any thoughts on the Ravens injury report?
I'll care more about it tomorrow when I see if anyone's actually ruled out.
Yeah, because Wang Harbs is always going to wang. We got to
Yep, Wang's got a wang.
Yep, Wang's got a wang. I can't wait to see his ugly fat face. Anyways,
you really you're looking forward to that? No,
I think it's funny. I mean, he drives me nuts, but it's also like it's hysterical. I used to say the same thing about Brian Billick, who I hated equally as much as John Harbaugh.
I only like to see his face after
when he's crying.
Lose. Yeah,
when he's crying. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
My gosh. Yeah. Can I just say this real quick? I bought my son his very first car today, and the manager that came to meet me at the end after the deal was done, I looked at his name tag and his last name was Harbaugh, and I'm like, I don't know if I could work with you. So I'm actually an Eagles fan. I'm like, okay, because I see Harbaugh, I see trouble. So I'm not going to listen to a
was
word
his first
you say.
name Wang?
It was
Wang
not
Hars.
Wang, but he was a very nice young man.
That's actually a pretty common last name around
I
here.
did not know that.
Yeah, I had a number of students and athletes that had that as last
Well,
name.
when you're a guy named Davis, when it's the fifth most common surname,
Well, actually, one of the better cornhole players in the country is actually from this area, and his last name is Harbaugh.
Oh, there we go. There's lots of Wangs in our area.
Yeah, let me shop. Brian, what kind of car did he get?
A 2006 Subaru Legacy Outback with only 123,000 miles. For that car back then was that was like the luxury model of Subarus. It's a beautiful car, very well maintained. One owner. I sound like
you're not selling me the car, man.
Yeah.
You just tell me what it is.
Well, you're probably lucky, Brian, because from what I see from that company is if you get a good one, you get a great one, but there's also plenty of them that you have fits with. So if it's already got that much mileage on it, then you probably got a good one.
Yes, I'm really enthused, and he is so happy. It's his first car. Now, it's the family car, but this is the one he's going to be driving. When I say the family car, it will go to his sister too. I'm like, we'll call it your car, Connor, but it is you can get grounded out of it.
Can you tell me what color is it? So if I see it in town, I can immediately go in another direction.
It is a beigeish green. It's
Okay.
it's really nice. It's
Beigeish green Outback, avoid at all costs. Got
And
it. All right.
Jeff,
Connor, can I say this?
yeah.
Connor drives better than I do.
Well,
that's
I
not
was going to say,
saying
Jeff, you probably need to take about 4 commercial breaks during the show so Bryan can afford to pay to have a teenage driver on his insurance.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the call that I'm about to make tomorrow morning. I'm not loving that.
I'm glad the show's tonight, not tomorrow night. All right, let's talk about this upcoming game, and let's do some quick, just like what you're thinking about. Let's talk about offensively first. What are the Steelers going to have to do? Don't say fire Matt Canada. Let's be realistic here. What are the Steelers going to have to do to really make not fans believe? Just this is about a 1-game thing, and it's not about the fans. It's about just finding a way to win. What do they have to do that, Dave? What do you think?
Well, I don't want to mention Matt Canada, as you said, but
you can mention him. Just don't say like, "Well, the key to victory is he gets fired." Like that's not
honestly the key to victory is you have to minimize his effect on the outcome. The defense has to be the driving force because the offense, you can't trust it. You can't get behind by very much, or you don't know what the offense can do. You basically have to almost play perfect in every other aspect of the game in order for the effect of, oh my goodness, what are they going to call in this key situation? You've just got to make sure those key situations are coming up, which is a very difficult to do. But to me, that almost felt like what Coach Tomlin was talking about. They got to get more physical. They've got to hit the ground running. The defense can't take the field to start and give up 7 points. Things like that. Something. I mean, my goodness. The Houston Texans scored enough points to win that game before the Pittsburgh Steelers offense had the ball because the offense couldn't catch up to 7 points. So, unfortunately, that's the best thing you can do because you just don't know what you're going to get out of that other part of the game. Then, if you actually get some good play calling and things of that, maybe get some, catch the team off guard because they're completely selling out for one thing because you constantly do it and you actually decided to do something else, you can take advantage of those things. But yeah, you basically have to, which is a shame because that's not how championship teams are built. But you basically have to do everything you can to cover your greatest weakness.
Bryan, what about you? Offensively, what do you think?
Renovate what you think is innovation. Because this team tries to be innovative, but their innovation is so predictable. And week after week, we hear how predictable it is. And you've got to realize that it's not innovative. It's not a surprise if you're just doing things in a different order. This team tries to be way too cute on offense when they need to try to just do the things that no one's expecting you to do, like go deep. Try to stretch the offense, the defense. Try to have sustained drives. Last year, this team was very good in the second half of the season of having sustained drives. They had a lot of them. They had a lot of 10+ play drives. Kenny Pickett has got to also take his team, assume the reins of his team, and not worry about anything but trying to be the leader of his team and maybe turn off the headset a little bit and apologize later. And speaking of the headset, Mike Tomlin has veto power, and it's time you start using it because that's no longer going to be an excuse. The offense coordinator is no longer an excuse when you can overrule things. So I think that's some of the things that they need to do. They need to change things up without trying to be cute.
Okay, everything I agree with everything you all said. I do think they need to try and establish the run. It's going to have to be creative, but let's call a spade. Kenny Pickett's got to play better. Like if he's going to play and he's going to be not 100%, which I think it's safe to say he won't be, he's going to have to be better. And so this is going to be a game where, Kenny, you cannot suck. You can't look like a deer in headlights when the pass rush is not really at you. They're just, I mean, they're going to feel some pressure. You are a quarterback. Let's calm the happy feet down. Let's find the open receiver. I think that Kenny's got to be better. If they have a chance of winning this game, which I do think they do have a chance of winning this game for a lot of reasons, but Kenny is just, I hate being that simplistic, but there is some truth to what Mitch Trubisky said after the game in Houston. Sometimes you got to execute the plays that are called. And there are plays that are open and that they're just not executing those plays. So in that regard,
and when you don't do that, then everything else compounds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
right,
if on 1st and 10, if Kenny misses a Calvin Austin in-cutting route that would have gotten him 6-7 yards, now it's 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 2. Think about that. It's not all on Kenny, but in this game, it's going to be on Kenny. You got to go out and you got to play well. That's just my own opinion, though. Let's talk about defense real quick, Dave. What do you think about that side of the football?
Oh my goodness. It's the Steelers are playing a familiar opponent. They know that they can't come out like they did last week. They have got to come out wanting to smack someone in the teeth, or else it's going to be a long day. You've got to be ready to go out there. I feel how they played with the Browns. You've got to be out there ready to go out there and push someone around, and you're not going to win every play. You're not going to, but you've got to be able to come back and smack your guy again the next time. Play hard.
There you go. I love it. Bryan, what about you at the defense?
Play Lamar Jackson like you've always played Lamar Jackson. Don't try to confuse Lamar Jackson. Just shadow and stop Lamar Jackson like you've done well. This is not, in fact, I'd rather see Lamar Jackson sometimes than Huntley. That's Huntley in the past 3 years has played better than Lamar Jackson against the Steelers. But if you allow Lamar Jackson to get free and realize that he can go ahead and shred you and try to force them to be cute. If you force them to be cute, then they get out of their rhythm too. So the number one thing is to get them out of their rhythm. How that is, I can't explain, but they know how to get them out of the rhythm. You do not have Brian Flores here who knew how to get them out of that rhythm, even though he was here for a mere season. But if you could find a way to do that and limit Mark Andrews, I know he hasn't been the same this season, but he seems to go off on the Steelers at times. So if you can just not be cute on defense and make them cute on offense, then you're doing something. You've got yourself a chance in this game.
So on my Let's Ride podcast, which airs tomorrow morning, I do have the Behind the Enemy Lines segment where the people that cover the Baltimore Ravens for Fans for Sports Network, they come on my show. And they were saying that, the Ravens, Mark Andrews, which I thought the same thing, Bryan, well, he was banged up early in the season. He's just starting to kind of get back into his rhythm. He's starting to get healthy, which is scary for the Steelers. It's scary for me. Hey, he's enemy number one outside of Lamar Jackson. Like you can't let this guy beat you down the middle, which he's done so many times. If they're going to try and Zay Flowers their way down the field on the outside, okay, that's fine. You got to stop the run. And that's what it all comes down to. You got to be able to stop the run. And I'm not screaming for Braden Fajoko to get a game day helmet because I don't think he's necessarily the answer. They have to stop the run. They have to tackle better. And like you said, force Lamar Jackson into obvious passing situations. Let TJ do what he always does. He hits Lamar Jackson every chance he can. They do an RPO, he's hitting Lamar, whether he has the ball or not, every single time. I love it. The physicality that Dave talked about, that's what they need. We'll see. We will see. Okay, what's going to happen? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, and obviously if you're watching live, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we're not going anywhere. Afterward from our sponsor, we're going to have predictions and everyone's favorite game, the over-under. Be right back. All right, Steeler fans, we're back. It's time for the favorite game, over-under. I think last week sucked, but Dave, we're going to update everyone's over-unders from last week?
Yeah, over-under was not good. But that's what happens when everyone picks the Steelers to win and they don't, your over-unders are based on what you're expecting to happen a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So poor Jefferson, you only got one. The only one you got was the Steelers being under 4.5 sacks. Bryan, you got 2 and I got 2.
Well, I know you guys got the Jalen Warren yards.
We got the Jalen Warren yards. Bryan also had the under of the 4.5 sacks, and I had the under of the 1.5 takeaways. So the overall scores now are Bryan has 8 correct, Jeff has 9, and I have 13.
All right. We have 5. We have 5 this week. Had to go in a little different route with some of these, tried to be creative. So starting off, we're going to go with Rock to the Najee Harris. Total yards. So this is total yards, both rushing and receiving. And I've got that line at 82.5. 82.5 total yards for double deuce. Bryan, what do you think?
I've got a trend this week. I'm demoralized. I am saying under on almost everything. Under.
Okay. Dave?
Bryan's taking the under on that. You know what? I'm going to as well.
Give me the over. Give me the over. Total yards. I think he's going to have more receiving yards than anything. Okay. Kenny Pickett attempts. Passing attempts. All right. 37.5. Bryan, what do you think?
Oh, my.
Under.
Dave?
That's a lot of attempts. I'm trying to think. How many has he had this year?
Depends on how you think the game's going to play out.
I know. Is he going to have to throw? You know what? I'm going under as well because do they want to throw him that much? If his knee's not 100%, does he finish the game? There's a lot of other things that could factor into that. So
I'm going under. I'll take the under.
So
all right, let's go with Pittsburgh Steelers sacks of old Lamar Jackson or any Ravens quarterback, whatever happens. And this line is set at 2.5. Bryan, what do you think?
Under.
Okay. He's holding true to form. Dave, Go ahead.
That one I'm going to go over. I'm hoping that they can get 3 sacks.
I was hoping you were going to go under because I'm going over. I was thinking 3 as well. So I'll take the over with Pittsburgh sacks. Now, the Baltimore Ravens sacking Steelers quarterbacks, we'll assume that's Kenny Pickett. I've got that line at 3.5. Bryan.
Not holding form here. Negative Bryan. Over.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Dave?
They get after the quarterback pretty well too. Broderick Jones is going to struggle in pass protection at times, but I think it will continue to improve throughout the game and throughout the year. But for that reason, I really wanted to have the number of 3. I'm going to go over. It's so close between 3 or 4. You're going under, aren't you, Jeff?
I'm going under for sure. No doubt about it. Under. And the last one, Mount Washington. Mount Washington, Darnell Washington receptions, 2.5. Over under, Bryan.
Under.
Okay.
And I'm not being defiant.
No, that's
here.
not negative.
Because are they going to say, "Oh, there's no Freiermuth. We're just not going to use the tight end because he's a rookie"? I mean, it almost feels like that's something they could do, although it makes no sense. I'm going to go west on this one. I'll go over. I think hopefully. I mean, they've thrown him the ball one time and he caught it. I'm hoping he'll get 3 targets and he'll just catch them all. It might only be for 8 yards, but who knows? I'll go over.
I'm with Dave. I'm going over. So there you have it. Those are the 5 over-unders for this week. Let's talk about predictions now. According to my bookie, the Steelers, this is the last I checked, so it might have changed. The last one I saw was the Steelers are getting 3.5 points at home with an over-under at 38.5. That's the over-under at 38.5. So with that being said, Bryan, You have the Steelers losing. By how much? And what's the final score?
How do you know I have them losing?
You're a negative Nancy.
You've got to look at the over-unders, unless you think they're going to win 3-2.
Chris
Boswell makes a kick, and they have a safety. So there you go.
The Pirates in an interleague game beat the Orioles. Actually, the Pirates would probably score more than the Steelers right now with this offense. I'm going to go ahead and everybody gets mad when I pick against the Steelers, but there's times that I pick against the Steelers and they win. I have no problem whatsoever being wrong. I'm fine with that. I love to be wrong here. They have opportunities to pull this out, but I am not feeling the love for this team right now because I started to believe, and they played the Texans, and that was not only was that ridiculously called, it was very uninspired. I feel like I never want to accuse my team of quitting. I feel like they are not in concert with Matt Canada right now. I think they are far apart with that, and I do not think they have the mojo right now. The final score for me, I'm going to say 27-13 in favor of the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh,
that's an over,
that's
though, right?
over. That's over. 23-13 in favor of the Baltimore Ravens.
That puts you just under, right? Yeah. 23-13. 13. Okay, and that puts you at the under. Oh my goodness. Bryan, you had to pick that score after all. Well, what's that?
So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what is there to be confident about with this Pittsburgh Steelers team right now? I mean, I hated being the way that it was on Stat Geek this morning, but my goodness, the numbers even told us that Houston should have beaten Pittsburgh. We're like, nah, we're not worried about those numbers because the Steelers make the splash plays. Well, you know what?
What a way to wake up this morning, by the way. I wake up and listen to Stat Geek. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dave's got me depressed, and it's 7 o'clock.
The numbers are terrible, Jeff. They are terrible. That's the only reason I tried to spin something positive with the title. Is like, at least it's AFC North football, because in AFC North football, the numbers don't matter. So, but I mean, come on, Jeff. How much confidence do you have in this Steelers team right now? I have the Baltimore Ravens 23, the Pittsburgh Steelers 24. That's right. I am going with that for this reason. All right. When the Pittsburgh Steelers under Mike Tomlin have lost a game by 14 or more points, I thought to look this up. Thank you, Jim Wexell, on the Steel City Insider podcast that I listened to. They are 14-5 the following week. When the Pittsburgh Steelers face a team play a game after they've lost by 21 or more points under Mike Tomlin, they are 10-2. And when they face a team after losing by 21 points, when they were favored to win that game in the first place, the Steelers are 2-0. And it's the Baltimore Ravens. This is what this team does to us. They make us think that things can get no worse, and then they turn around and win a game they have no business winning. That is what this team does. So that's why that's why I'm doing it. Because you know what? If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. But it's what they do.
Give it up. Give it up. There's great.
I got to tell you,
I've got my clip for tomorrow that I'm going to put on social media. I just got the clip. I just got the clip right there. It's just made my job a hell of a lot easier.
So obviously that's the over. Believe it or not. It's just they have no – Mark Madden said it on Breakfast with Ben's Monday, which is on the Fans First Sports Network. Yep. He said it. He's like, oh, they have no business winning this game, so they'll probably beat the Ravens. He said it, tongue in cheek, but it's because he meant it, because that's just what this team does to us. They lose this game horribly, and then they turn around and have a game that they should no business win, and they probably will. If they would have came out and beat the Texans, they probably would and been favored to beat the Ravens. And if the Ravens would have lost to the Browns last week, like we thought they might, then the Steelers probably would have got their doors blown off. It's just the way, it's the emotion up and down that it goes. I'm starting, believe it or not, I think practicing in pads on Wednesday is going to make the difference. Shocking.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
And the pigeons are going to show up. That's what's going to happen too. Thank you, Dilly Dilly.
So I got to be honest. I had my conversation with the Ravens crew for my podcast tomorrow, and they are like brimming with positivity because they're coming off of a big win in Cleveland, even though Cleveland didn't have their starting quarterback. It doesn't know, obviously, Nick Chubb. And I'm just sitting there the whole time and I'm listening to him talk and we're going back and forth and all this stuff. And I just start to get this feeling. And I'm like, it's not I got a feeling. I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to win this freaking game on Sunday. And it's not all the metrics that Dave just said. It's the fact that I don't know what it is about this team, this game, these AFC North matchups. We could probably list blowout wins by either team on one hand between these two teams. Blowout wins, or maybe 2-score games, maybe over one hand, but still not by two. They are always close. They're always tight. This is going to be one of those weird freaking games. I've got the final score: Steelers 20, Baltimore 18. How did they get to 18? I don't know. I think they're going to score a touchdown at the end. They're going to need a 2-point conversion.
That puts you just barely on the under, doesn't it?
I know it does. 20-18. They're going to need a 2-point conversion to send it to overtime. They do not get it. Steelers win. There you go. I don't know. It's a weird game. And I think another thing was I was doing some work around the house and I was on Instagram, and Cam Hayward's podcast, they had a clip up, and he said that a lot of people were calling for Mike Tomlin's job. And he said, can people calm down? It is week 4. Yeah. He said, guys, there is still a lot of football left to be played. And I thought, you know what? Cam's right. Cam is right. Like, we are making these sweeping judgments really early. And I know why. And I'm not saying it's not justified, but there is still a lot of football left to be played. This team wins this game. They're 3-2 going into the bye week, and everything changes. Let's not talk about the alternative. All right. So with all that said, I know Dave has trivia. Bryan, I'm assuming you do too.
I do.
Let's go for it.
All right. How many 27 players that played for both Baltimore? I'm sorry, I messed with you. I didn't look it up today. I thought about looking it up ahead of time again. I'm like, no, I'm not going to ruin that for Bryan.
So I'm going first?
Yes.
All right. So we are going to talk about former Steelers, but former Steelers that were drafted by the Black and Gold who ended up in Baltimore. There were 2 number 1 picks that played for both teams. There are 2 number 2 picks that played for both teams. And there are, actually, I'm sorry, 3 number 2 picks. And there are 2 number 3 picks. I did make a mistake there. I believe it's no. It is 2 number 1 picks. Who's number 1 picks of the Pittsburgh Steelers to play for the Ravens later on? Who are the number 2s and who are the number 3s?
Woodson.
Absolutely.
Rod Woodson.
Yeah, Rod Woodson's
the number 1 pick.
He's a 1. Hold on a second. Let me see here. I'm thinking. Sorry, I got sidetracked there.
Dang it. Another first-round pick?
I'm trying to think. It wasn't someone like a Plexico Burris or something. No, he wasn't in Baltimore, was he?
No.
Let me see. Who would it be other than Rod Woodson? It's not someone like a Kendall Simmons. He ended up playing somewhere for a couple games, but I don't think it was Baltimore.
If it was, I don't have him.
No, I don't think it was. The more I think
about it. Was it a lineman?
But it's the Baltimore.
Was it a lineman, Bryan?
Go ahead and answer.
Not necessarily, no.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
I'm thinking, because because it had to be the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah, I don't think it was Jermaine Stevens. That's the only other lineman that would have been the.
Let me just say he was not necessarily a lineman, but sometimes he blocked.
It's a tight end.
Was it Bruner? Did Bruner play there?
Eric Green.
Oh,
Eric, that's right. He ended up there eventually. That's right. After Miami, right?
Yes.
So what is the track for? Why is it Pittsburgh to Miami to Baltimore? Second round picks are easy.
Second round's Cordell.
Yes.
And it's Le'Veon Bell.
Bell ended up there for a stint. Is that all?
One more.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more. That's right. You
Was
changed
Mike
it to
Wallace? Is Mike Wallace wasn't?
Mike Wallace is the third round. He's a
Mike
third
Wallace
round.
is a 3.
So another number 2. Trying to think of how far back you have to go.
Number 2.
A significant number 2. Okay.
I think that's Austin Powers.
Yes. Who does number 2 work for? Jeff, are we being dumb? Is this?
I feel like we are being dumb.
Yeah.
He went to Jacksonville first.
Was that
Cornell?
Carnell Lake.
Yeah, that's who
I
it
didn't.
was.
I knew he played for the Ravens. I just couldn't remember if he was a second round pick or not.
And you already have Mike Wallace.
Yep.
As a 3.
So give me one more. Give me another number 3.
The problem is I should have remembered who was a third round pick. You're exactly right. I'm just trying to think of the era. You know what I'm saying? Was there someone more recent, or is it someone?
Not Lima Swede, but this guy likes his weed.
Huh. Did that help you, Jeff?
No. A lot of players smoke weed. I don't know.
Yeah, he had a whole bunch of it in his trunk.
Oh, Bam Morris.
Yep.
Oh, he was a third round pick. That's what I forget about.
Yeah, Bam Morris and Eric Green were on the same team at the same time. And they were tough.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's good.
There you go.
All right, David.
All right. Well, mine. It's a little bit of trivia and a whole lot of fun facts, probably more than anything. But Steelers lost the Houston Texans in Week 4. When's the last time the Steelers won a game in Week 4?
I'm gonna really have to say 2020.
That was going to be my guess.
And here's what you have to remember. In 2020, the Steelers' bye week was moved from week 7 to week 4.
Oh.
They didn't actually play in week 4.
Then I've got it.
2019.
Because
2019.
0-3.
Yep. They were 0-3 and then beat up on the Cincinnati Bengals with Mason Rudolph.
On Monday Night Football.
Yes, on Monday Night Football. That was the last time. And the whole reason I asked this question is in the Mike Tomlin era. That's just so easy to do because it gives you a large sample size, and it's a good cutoff point. The Steelers have played 15 games during Week 4. How many of those do you think they have won?
I'm going to go with 4.
Since when is that, Dave?
Since 2007.
The Tomlin era.
Well, I know in 2008, they definitely won Week 4.
Because they did. That was a Monday night overtime.
I'm going to go 6.
So Jeff said 6, or sorry, Jeff said 4. Bryan said 6. The answer is 5.
I win.
The
Price is Right
Steelers
rules.
are 5-10 in week 4.
That's crazy.
Guess what the next worst week is? When and what the record would be?
Hopefully not week 5.
Week 2.
It's randomly week 14. They are 8-8. That's the next worst.
Wow.
So this is the only week of the NFL season, week 4, under Mike Tomlin, where the Steelers have a losing record, and it's significant. I didn't know this last week, or else I wouldn't have picked the Steelers to win, probably. And now that 5-10, that includes the loss to Houston, of course. But yeah, it's one of those crazy things that the Steelers in week 4 have been terrible. I mean, some of these losses are a little bit crazy. So they lost to Houston. Last year, they lost to the Jets. The year before, they lost in Green Bay. Then they didn't have a game in week 4 in 2020. We talked about the win in Cincinnati. The year before that in 2018, they lost by 12 in Baltimore. 2017, they beat Baltimore. So that was one of the few. The year before that, 2016, they won in Kansas City, but that was one of those games coming off a 21-point loss. That was when they got crushed by the Eagles the week before. I'm pretty sure that was the Eagles year. But they lost to Baltimore on Thursday night in the game that we infamously called the Scobie debacle. They lost to Tampa on a terrible Brad Wing punt, which allowed them to come back and win it. I was there. They lost in Minnesota in 2013, in Houston in 2011. Okay, just home against Baltimore in 2010. It's just crazy that the Steelers have lost all these games in week 4. I really don't understand it. But just to hit you with the nice bright side of things, the Steelers going into this week under Mike Tomlin in week 5, 11-3. One of their better records. The only other weeks where they what's that?
He bounces back. You proved that
because of the infamous bounce back. There's only one other week of the season where the Steelers have more than 11 wins under Mike Tomlin. Any idea what it is?
Week 17.
You are correct. It is week 17. 13-3 in
How many
week
times
17.
they played the Browns though in that game?
But remember, I mean, one of those losses was in 2019 because that was the one loss by more than by at least 2 touchdowns where I didn't have a game to go after because it was the last game of the season they lost in Baltimore. So that's why there was one more game in there that. Because you guys understand it didn't work. But here's another nice thing. They're undefeated in regular season week 18 games. They're 2-0. So to finish out the season, that's kind of what the Steelers do the last couple of weeks. But that's the only weeks that are more than 11 wins. Other ones, week 13, the Steelers are 11-5. Week 9, they're also 11-3. And week 6, they're also 11-3. But week 6 this year, they're not going to have a chance to better that one because that's their bye.
There you go. Hey, I want to get this super chat on the screen. Good trivia for both of you, by the way. Been up here for a while. My apologies. Gregory Robinson gives us $5. Said Art Rooney hired Matt Canada. So why do fans and media think Mike Tomlin can fire him? It's an excellent point. Something that has been talked about a lot on our podcast. I know that Bryan talked about that on his Here We Go show with or it might have been Bad Language this week with Dave. I can't remember which one it was. And Dave, I know you talked about that on Scobro. And also,
we've been talking about it a lot.
Yeah, but no, it's a good point. Very valid. Yep. Okay, let's do some final thoughts here. Bryan, you're up. Go ahead.
All right, I've had a rough week. I'm just going to say this real quick. I'm not doing this for any sympathy. I lost a pet this week. Lost Harvey. He almost made it to 17 years. He was just my pets. Watch the games with me and they hang out with me most of the time. And it's to lose that is I have Steeler pets and they hang out with me all the time. And it's just one of those things that after the Steelers lost to Houston and as angry as I was, it put things in in perspective, and I started to feel better about the Steelers. I have been angry. I have been with this team. I have been just as frustrated as all of you. And then I come to this show, and Dave Schofield completely pulled me out of my malaise with a lot of things that he said, got me really excited, and I feel good about it. Then I started to think during this show, it's not because it's toning out Jeff in any way. Seattle does not have 2 losses. All I was
Actually, don't they? No, they don't, do they?
I'm starting to think about the rest of the week. And I started to think about how Najee Harris did not rail on Matt Canada. He just said, we're playing soft. Then I started to think about Roquan Smith talking some smack. Patrick Queen, who I think is perfect to be on that team because he's a wang. And he's going after Mike Tomlin, which I don't even understand what he was saying. You're not a Raven. You're not I have no clue. He was on the Steelers sideline and he's saying you're not a Raven. I have no clue what gibberish he was talking. All I know is when you start having the Steelers say, hey, we're soft. We need to do better. We need to do this. I feel like they're understanding that it's Ravens week and they're starting to psych themselves up a little bit. And then you have the overconfidence of a team like the Ravens just going and bashing this team like crazy. I kind of, after I hear Dave Schofield, after I hear Jeff Hartman and the optimism, I think I've got to pull myself out of it as well. So let's just sing this together. It's not King of Wishful Thinking because I don't want to go ahead and step on Dave's toes. But what I want to do, and I actually don't want that copyright infringement and them to screw us out of a couple of dollars here on YouTube. But all I'm going to say is everybody have fun tonight. Everybody wang Hobbs tonight. Go Steelers.
All right, Dave. Good luck following that. Go ahead.
All right. Well, first of all, shout out to an NFL legend who we lost today, the great Dick Butkus. Just thoughts and prayers with his family. You hear 80, believe it or not, for someone who played in the NFL, that's not bad, but still 80 isn't like it. Rest in peace. That's the best I can say there. But when it comes to this game, for those of you who are listening, and if you are, I kind of understand that sometimes when the Steelers frustrate you to no end, you just have to step away from them because you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. That's not us, though. We don't step away. We are going to be here through the negativity and embrace the suck as much as we can. And that's why part of me is kind of looking at this game as this is the kind of one that the Steelers win. So I was so down. You heard me say in the postgame show, I was so down and I was so mad with this team. I sold my tickets to the game. I was not putting up with it to have to go watch them lose to the Ravens. And what happens as the week goes on, I start to realize this is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this sometimes is what they do to us early in the season. So I'm going to do my best Jeff Hartman, and I'm going to believe in this team that somehow, some way, they're going to find a way until at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, when God intended NFL football to be played, they turn around and break my heart. I am bracing for the heartbreak, but I am going into that one terrible towel ready to go on the comfort of my couch, and let's just see if they could do what they're not supposed to do and leave week 5 leading the AFC North.
Would be pretty freaking awesome. Hey, I want to say give a quick hat tip to the greatest Pittsburgh athlete I've ever witnessed in person. It's his birthday today. That's one Le Magnifique, Mario Lemieux. Happy birthday to Super Mario. Greatest Pittsburgh athlete I have ever witnessed in person in my lifetime. So happy birthday to Mario. Number 66 will always be the best. Okay, Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
See you next week. Well, actually, we'll be back next week. We'll see you next week.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.